Okay, welcome to part 4, which addresses a claim that faith contradicts the findings of science. As usual, we will be filling out the bolded part of the outline. Those who make this objection would say that there is no inherent contradiction between faith and science. However, they would hold that the findings of science, so the scientific evidence, contradicts faith. Faith should always be supported by scientific findings. So if there is no science to support a position of faith, or if the science contradicts it, then that position of faith should be abandoned. I gave a few examples of this, using the Christian faith as an example. Concerning the origin of matter, the Christian faith says that God created matter, but some think that science contradicts that because of the Big Bang theory, which they think explains the origin of matter without needing a God. Genesis in the Bible records people living to about 900 years old, whereas science says that man's lifespan is only about 120 years. Genesis also says that the species were created separately, whereas the theory of evolution says that the species evolved from a UCA, which stands for Universal Common Ancestor. Also, according to Genesis, there was a flood that covered the whole world, whereas science says that worldwide floods are unlikely. And the Bible is full of miracles, which science says are explained naturally. And lastly, the Bible implies that it is a historically accurate book, but some, upon studying ancient history, might say that there is not enough information about the ancient world to know one way or the other. Now, I am not saying that science actually contradicts any of these elements of the Christian faith, only that there are many who believe that it does. To answer this objection, there exist many apologetical arguments that show how scientific findings actually do point to faith. To give a few, starting with philosophy, we have the moral argument and the transcendental argument, which attempt to show God's existence from the existence of our moral values and from the laws of nature and of logic, respectively. Popular proponents of these arguments include Greg Bahnsen, R.C. Sproul, and William Lane Craig. Then there are the scientific arguments, for example, the cosmological argument and the teleological argument, which attempt to show God's existence from the existence of the universe and from the design and nature, respectively. Popular proponents of these include John Lennox, Jonathan Wells, and Michael Behe. Then there is the historical, archaeological, and other forms of evidence for the Bible's inspiration, which has been promoted by Norman Geisler, C.S. Lewis, and Josh and Sean McDowell. There is some overlap between these arguments and the apologists that promote them. The reason I am citing other people and not addressing this objection myself is in part because much has already been written on the topic of faith contradicting scientific findings. So if someone wants to investigate that, then they can reference the resources I have provided. Also, the purpose of these videos is to resolve philosophical differences between faith and science, not evidential differences. The only reason I included this objection is because it is so prevalent in today's culture. With that being said, I do have material on evolution and on the inspiration of the New and Old Testaments of the Bible. Here is our updated outline where I address the objection that faith contradicts the findings of science indirectly, with the apologetics being done by other people. That is the end of part 4. In part 5, we will address the objection that faith contradicts scientists.